So I guess we will open the meeting, and I do want to remind everybody it's being live streamed to YouTube for the general public. All audio and video is being captured, so ensure that you stay in one place during the meeting and that your camera is at eye level and not above or below. Also remember that in order to participate in the meeting, your video must be turned on. When you're speaking, please do so clearly so that we'll be able to understand you, and that when you're not an active speaker, please ensure your microphone is muted so that there's not any background noise. I've asked Heather to monitor that, and she will mute folks as needed. If you do need to speak, please raise your hand so I can call on you before and get you unmuted. Thank you in advance for altering to the suggestions, as it helps ensure our meeting runs smoothly without interruptions. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Yes, Lori, can you see all of us? Because I can only see you right now. And raising my hand, if you don't see me on the whole thing, how would that work?
So I can see everybody except Lee's picture right now that's on the call.
Okay.
There you go. Now I see Lee. All right, with that, let's get started. And we're going to skip roll for a moment, and we'll go on into an update for the president and come back.
Hi, Lori, Aaron. It's good to have everybody on the screen. I know most of us are at home or isolated in the office, and that's either good or bad, depends on whether you get stir crazy easily like I do. So I'm glad to see everybody face to face, even if it's through Zoom. I will tell you, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not even sure even how to start, other than just to say that it's changing daily. All of our campuses, as you well know, have moved to, and I'm cautious not to use the word closed because we're not closed. What we're doing is that we've abbreviated the way that we are doing classes. All of our classes have moved to some digital format, those that can be offered. The Kentucky Board of Nursing allowed to relax some clinical ways that we're doing items like nursing classes, so that should help us a little bit. We're also in a position whereby those students that are foster kids or international students or students that may not have a way to get home, that we're providing them shelter and some limited food options whereby they can stay in place. We're also in a situation on our campuses where we know we're going to be losing some dollars, and we're trying to track and see what that means. We don't even know what this means for us going into the summer, much less the fall. I mean, there's a lot of things still up in the air. The item that I will tell you is our campuses have, in fact, performed well and quickly. We've been very cognizant of the fact that we couldn't wait around to make decisions, so we started doing it early. And to such a point, I think Kentucky has been recognized in higher education realms as moving fairly quickly. We're also constantly keeping in contact with all the governmental officials that we need to in the executive branch, legislative branch, as well as at the local levels. We are working with all of our campuses, our 70 sites at KCTCS and all of our regional sites, to make sure that we're providing the local community with the things that we need. As you probably saw in my tweet earlier today, we're even providing medical equipment to many of the campuses. That's our public campuses as well as our private, nonprofit, as well as for our for-profits like Sullivan. So higher education has stepped up. Now, this academic committee, we really need to be aware that we don't know what this really means as far as the new lay of the land for the academic endeavor. We don't know what it means, what it looks like, providing, quote unquote, the quality that we once were able to semi-take for granted, even though that's a little problematic in itself. But, you know, we're having to do what we're having to do. We are having to skill faculty up quickly to the digital realm. And once again, I think that has worked well. We extended our spring breaks by a couple of days, in some cases a week, to make sure our faculty were ready to perform. We're all in the middle of performing now. The item that I think that is really clear for me, and for many of us who've been in higher education for a while, sometimes it takes a crisis to create big innovation. And that's the approach I'm taking, in the positive way I kind of see the glass half full. How can we learn from this to do things better? Not just to be prepared for another crisis, but how can we learn from this crisis in order to perform better for our students in the future? We also have a couple of things that we need to be aware that's coming down the road. One is that the budget, it will be here sooner or later, hopefully higher ed, the Senate budget and the House budget, as well as the governor's proposed budget, has higher ed engaged in funding. We hope that doesn't change. We hope that that still holds true. The governor put forth a budget that suspended, if you will, the performance funding model, and allowed 1% to go directly to all the campuses. The House changed that and put money in that went to performance funding, and they put some pension dollars in House Bill 171. The Senate got that budget and took the governor's recommendation and the House recommendation, but they turned all of that into performance funding allocation. So they're in conference committee, or will be if they're not yet today, to talk about a unified budget that will then go to the governor. We hope to know something by the end of this week about how that looks. We're looking at tuition and what that means. Our tuition setting is coming in supposedly a few weeks. We don't know what we're going to do with that, I guess. I mean, the council, I've talked with Ben and Kim and others about what does that look like. Well, we don't know. I've been talking to the presidents. I'm meeting with them weekly via Zoom or phone calls, and to try to figure out how we even engage in a tuition discussion now. We just don't know. They would obviously like more flexibility, and I'm obviously see reasons for that in my mind, but we also have to think of students and their needs and affordability. Speaking of students, I've got Heather on the line, who's been engaging with us with students to find out what's going on with them. They're worried, many, about what kind of what kind of grades they're going to get at the end of this semester. We have kept everybody we could on academic progress. In other words, those that are graduating or hope to graduate. But there's going to be some classes moving to pass fail, some's going to be given for grades, and all that will have impact on a variety of things, especially if they're ongoing next semester. Will it affect scholarships? Will it not? So there's going to be a lot of items that will come to you, I'm sure, with this academic strategic group to talk about how do we look in the future toward everything from academic programs to the way we strategically put forth our agenda, our agenda as a council. So, I mean, those are the many things going on. There's so much more that I could spend all the 2 hours to fill you in on. But what we're doing is the council is heavily engaged at all levels. You should know that. Where all of our vice presidents and Melissa with you guys have been involved with each of their constituent groups on campuses, as well as with the Kentucky Department of Education, to try to make sure that we're keeping the ball rolling and doing it in a way that has some sense for our Kentuckians. So with that in mind, Madam Chair, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Yes. Yes, I
Pat?
do. Well, I brought it up in the finance committee earlier, but Aaron touched on tuition and where it's going and that sort of thing. I think we need to start thinking about what's happening with all the online courses, because some get charged extra tuition, some don't now currently, and I don't have an answer, but we've got some very good brains in this group. So if anybody has answers on how to handle the tuition for online courses now, now that they're all forced into it, it becomes a sticking point possibly.
You know, Dr. Stad, I think your point's well taken. Once again, I talked with the chair of the finance committee, Ben, about what does that look like. What I think is the issue that we were going to bring up to the finance committee on this may actually start answering itself to a degree, because if we think that we had a lot of courses online before, a lot of programs online, guess what we're probably going to have this fall? A whole lot. So we're going to have to really think of a different model, right? And there's multiple inputs to that model. Not all digital offerings are the same. So, but I do believe that the conversation we were originally thinking about having now has changed tremendously. I mean, in the sense of the word, does this become the new way of us thinking about offering courses, period? I don't know. All these questions will be answered, I guess, over time, but for sure the council is going to have to consider what does that look like as far as charging students to do this, you know? So I would agree.
Great,
Another
any,
that I want to bring up for maybe this is a bit of a finance discussion, but also for this committee, is a number of colleges around the country have already started making refunds back to their students, especially the room and board. So I'm sure you're talking about it, but what I would like to recommend to CPE is that if we can get all of our universities to follow a consistent policy on this, I think it would be very helpful for our kids across the Commonwealth, rather than each individual university picking a different course of action, which is, leading to a lot of confusion nationally about why some colleges are doing it and why other colleges are not doing it. So if there's a way for us to be thinking about it holistically, in addition to the academic initiatives itself, I think that will be very helpful for our students, especially when there's so much turmoil.
It's interesting. We have been talking about this and think we're pretty well on the same page with all of our campuses. First of all, if you're a graduating senior, you will get money back for all of these items that you didn't do, like live in a residence hall or your food card. If you are a returning student, we are issuing credit to you on your bill. So that's what most of us, if not all of us, are following now. We came up with that conclusion. I should have mentioned this earlier, and I apologize. We came up with that like the first, before we even moved fully to the digital process. Now, there will be things that we don't know yet what they are, right? There may be some need to issue refunds. We don't know exactly what those are, but the things that we do know, that's pretty well the protocol that Kentucky is using.
Okay, great. Thank you.
great. Are there any other questions?
Actually, just to comment on Aaron, that credit going forward, that's sure going to help retention rates.
Well, it does. It has a residual effect for this committee. You need to think about that, right? Which I think was very smart. The idea that if you got a credit coming back to you next year, you may want to come back next year and get it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, we're now going to go back up on our agenda if there are no other questions. And I'll have Heather, will you call the roll, please?
Okay, great. Sorry, I had to unmute. All right, Mr. Ben Brandsetter.
Here.
Ms. Lori Harper.
Here.
Mr. Lucas Menzer. Mr. Grant Minix. Ms. Vidya Ravichandran.
Here.
Dr. Bob Statt.
Here.
Cheryl Zimmerman. We have 4 out of 7, so we're okay.
Great, thank you. Everybody had received a copy of our minutes from the January 9th meeting. They were in your materials. Are there any objections to those as presented? If none, then they are approved as distributed. At this time, we have 10 new academic program proposals to review today. In order to keep this process efficient, I'd like to break this up into 3 sections. First, we'll have Eastern Kentucky University present their program, and then we can have discussion and take action. Then Northern Kentucky will present their program, and again, we will discuss and take action. Then I'll ask UK to present each of their programs, allowing for Q&A during the presentation and at the end. We can take action for all the UK proposals as a whole, but if needed or requested, a program from the consent list for the University of Kentucky can be removed and voted on separately. Are there any objections to this process?
Sounds good.
All right, then great. I will turn it over to Miss Melissa Bell, and she will begin introductions.
Thank you. We do have quite a few of them before you today. Just keep in mind that these have been in the pipeline for quite a while. So in light of recent events, you might be a little surprised by this, but the universities have asked to go forward with the approval process. They do have, according to our program approval policy, up to 5 years to implement the program. If they don't do so in that time, they need to go through the program approval process again. So each program here has 1 or more representatives. These representatives have 2 to 3 minutes to present their program, including an overview of the program, student demand, employer demand, any other data or explanation about why the program's needed at this time, and how the program complements or supplements other current offerings. So first up, we have Eastern Kentucky University, and the representatives for that are Ann Callahan and Stephanie Adams. I am going to mute my line and let them do their 3-minute presentation. Or
Thank you,
either,
Mrs. Bell.
okay, there you
Yes.
go.
Thank you. So sorry. I was still on mute there for just a second. My name is Dr. Ann Callahan, and I'm from Eastern Kentucky, and I've been charged with the challenge of developing a master's social work program, an online program. And so it's been really an exciting process. Have lots of information to share with you, way beyond 2 to 3 minutes, but I will give you a real quick 2-paragraph overview, if you don't mind, and I will be happy to take any questions that you have. So the Master's of Social Work program builds on EKU successes by preparing integrated advanced generalist social workers. Integrated advanced generalist social workers draw from social work theory and research to inform and evaluate the delivery of ethical, culturally inclusive practice. MSW students select an interdisciplinary university certificate program in child and family services, mental health, addictions intervention, leadership and management, or social justice and advocacy. As part of the MSW program curriculum, the MSW students practice the integration of advanced generalist social work theory, practice, and research while taking guided elective courses with non-social work students in their certificate program. The EKU MSW program is designed with student success in mind as the only low-cost public option for asynchronous online education in Kentucky. The MSW program offers maximum flexibility in course of study, employer-based field placements, and advanced standing for students in an undergraduate degree, with an undergraduate degree in social work. The program consists of 60 graduate credit hours and 30 graduate credit hours for advanced standing students. All EKU MSW courses will be asynchronous, 8-week long, outside of field practice with minimum prerequisites required for courses. There are 3 start dates for the advanced standing students and 2 start dates for the full program with a full-time and part-time option so students can take courses at their own pace. So that's the overall view. I hope that that's answer some of your questions in advance, but I'm happy to take any other questions. I'm not sure about our time limit for that.
Actually, this is Bob Stott, and a couple of questions. First of all, what's an asynchronous curriculum?
Okay, so basically courses are available for students to take in between the cracks and crevices of their time. A lot of students in graduate programs are working full time. They have families, and so they're working after hours, and courses are available to them. They can take, get online and work through the course modules and can complete assignments by a deadline, but they don't have to show up at a specific time where you would with a synchronous class. Most face-to-face classes are synchronistic, where you have to attend a course in person in the classroom. And you have some online courses that are synchronous, where you have to sign in all at the same time remotely and participate in a class. So asynchronous classes, there are no other programs in Kentucky, in public schools at least, that offer only asynchronistic offerings as part of their MSW program. So we feel like that will be filling an important need for students, given that most students in master's programs tend to be working full time and older, having kids and things like that.
At U of L, they advertise a totally online master's in social work. How does that differ from yours?
Okay, so there are components of the U of L program that require attendance real time, that require a synchronistic component. Attendance, whether it's through orientation, I don't know, I don't remember specifically which component of that program requires attendance in person or a synchronistic component, but that is something that we've addressed in our design, our program design.
Okay. And what will be the demand for the graduates? And actually, will you be taking students away from the other universities that have Masters of Social Work?
The demand of the program has been indicated by the popularity of our undergraduate program, where we have an undergraduate online program that started back in fall of 2017. And we started with 34 students, and since 2019, we grew to 326 students. So enrollment grew 10 times, almost 10 times. And our active students enrolled in the undergraduate online program, 25, starting out up to 119. So just based on the success of our online undergraduate program, we feel that those students will convert over and join our master's program. So we're already drawing students to our online undergraduate program. I don't see how we're not necessarily pulling undergraduate students away from other schools, because they're already with us. So I'm assuming that a lot of our students will be coming from our undergraduate online program. In terms of drawing students away from other programs, that we're going to be recruiting primarily, again, from our undergraduate students in our undergrad online program in Eastern Kentucky. We have a certain catchment area, primarily drawing students from our immediate Kentucky area. It's hard to speak to other areas in other parts of Kentucky, but most of our students have been relatively close.
This is Stephanie Adams. The other thing that we know is that the market demand for MSWs in Kentucky and in the Southeast continues to grow. And so our feeling is that that because of the need of MSWs, that there's the more programs, the better, for opportunities for students to get their MSWs and get back into their communities and continue higher level social work.
What is the average income of a master social worker?
Let's see, the average income is relative to the region. And in this particular area, I'll have to pull my notes up, but in this particular area, I would say probably, what would you say, Stephanie, 50,000?
I would say that a master's level social worker starts out at about 50 and it goes up to about 75,000. It would be kind of an average salary for MSWs, particularly MSWs that get their LCSWs or their license to practice clinical social work.
Thank you.
Lori, I don't know if you can see me raising my hand, but I have a couple of questions if I could.
Sure. If we have time, I'm happy to.
Yeah, well, good to see you. That's in my former department, by the way.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes,
you
we miss
know,
you.
well, we miss you too. Life was a lot easier back then. Not easier, it was a little more settled, I should say.
Yes, I remember those days.
Let me ask you this. I appreciate looking at MSWs. I appreciate it more if we're focusing heavily on the mental health issues, especially throughout Eastern Kentucky. How much time have you spent looking at your curriculum and how it leads to an LCSW?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we developed a certificate approach. We have students that will be taking MSW courses as well as courses that lead toward a certificate. And so one of the certificates is in mental health, and another one is in addictions intervention. So both of those are going to be opportunities for students to draw from continuing education credits that and lead to field placements that will get them absolutely on the trajectory toward a license in mental health as a clinical social worker or in seeking a certification as an alcohol and drug counselor. So very closely, we've been looking very closely at the requirements for certification and licensure because we want our certificate programs to help students really fast track toward getting advanced degrees and licensure to serve the needs in Kentucky.
The other thing that we've done toward that is that our program, our MSW program, is very tightly linked with other programs at Eastern Kentucky University, the Criminal Justice Department or program, the psychology, special education, and education. So that we are focusing on the needs of our community, not just within the needs of our regional community, not just within social work, but through the different helping professions in EKU.
Well, this interdisciplinary, maybe this is what you're referring to, Stephanie, the interdisciplinary certificate programs
Yes.
are open to all kinds of students, not just MSW students. And so we're working with psychology and other folks across the university, lots of folks across the university to offer our courses in these certificate programs that will be available to other students, postgraduate students, students outside of social work. And we assume that students already out there working will be returning and seeking a certificate program. So really, it's beyond the MSW. We've created multiple certificate options for folks to be able to get additional education that will lead to jobs and certifications, way beyond just our MSW program.
Well, let me just
that's
tell
a defining feature of our program. I mean,
let me just say this, and I'll leave it here. Dr. Bell probably told you when we looked at the programs that I said I was willing to look at going with this, is that I would love if y'all would proactively, and not just wait on them to come to you, but proactively push heavily the intervention stuff around narcotics and other items, but also around mental health. This is an issue that's heavy for us in the state. And so any programs like this we're looking at approving, we're pushing hard for those to be two key elements. So I would say not just wait for them to come to you, but be very proactive in pushing those two items, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, we will certainly market toward that, toward the needs of our region. Absolutely.
Any other questions? I mean, I could talk for hours about this, and I would love to, but if you're satisfied, I can. I hope that you'll definitely consider these certificate programs are extremely novel. And so there are no other master's programs that offer freestanding certificate programs that anyone can get in there and join and it quickly gain a credential. So this is something that is a very unique feature of our program. And of course that we are a federally recognized area that is in need of more mental health professionals, substance abuse counselors. We need to draw more people to social work. So instead of worrying, we don't want to be stealing students from other schools. we want to be drawing more people into our profession across the state. And I think that's what Stephanie was trying to allude to earlier.
Great, thank you. If no other questions, I'd like to welcome Grant Minix to our meeting. Appreciate you joining us today. And
Actually-
at that time, we are going to go ahead and vote on the Eastern Kentucky University Master of Social Work. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. And a second. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Thank you. Motion carries. We will now move on to the Northern Kentucky University Cybersecurity BS CPI code 11.1003.
Yes, I'm Dr. Maureen Doyle. I'm the chair of computer science, and I also have with us Dr. Hu. He's the director of our Center for Information Security. The bachelor's in cybersecurity has emerged as a new field degree due to high demand for cybersecurity skills in the wake of increasing number of security incidents. Cybersecurity professionals need a thorough understanding of business processes and modern computing system. So this cybersecurity degree is based on a strong core of computer information technology, computer science, and business information systems, augmented by cybersecurity courses. The primary objective of this degree program is to produce cybersecurity professionals who understand the process and the technologies needed to secure the information infrastructure of a modern organization. The student demand. We have seen strong interest in our cybersecurity track in our CIT degree, which we started in 2016. It is currently the highest enrolled track. However, this track in the IT degree prepares students to work in a security operations center, an extremely important part of cybersecurity, but not for other cybersecurity positions. Employer demand. We did an employer survey in the area. 94% of the employers say that they're having difficulty finding and hiring qualified cybersecurity professionals. 98 are interested in hiring future NKU graduates with the BS in cybersecurity. And 94% believe this region needs more cybersecurity specialists. And finally, 98% of the employers in the region think that NKU can fill this critical need with this cybersecurity degree. We also are a Department of Homeland Security National NSA Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense, which we just renewed recently. In order to continue that designation, this degree will fulfill our next renewal in 5 years. So we want to make sure that we're keeping up with the demand of what a cybersecurity professional is expected to bring into the job. The degree complements our CIT degree and our computer science degree. We leverage curriculum from both degrees and created and augmented them with 3 brand new cybersecurity courses: cybersecurity risk management, software security, and intro to ethical hacking. That's kind of my brief overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Actually, I don't really have a question, but rather a comment, because in my entrepreneurial program here at U of L, we do take credit cards. And just yesterday, I did my CPI or credit industry screening and knowledge base that we have to do annually. And that's cybersecurity is very important, and we need something even more so, because I just saw the depth at which some of these companies are being affected, and it's real.
You talk a little bit about what the cybersecurity curriculum looks like relative to the standard computer science curriculum that probably has some cybersecurity classes, and how they're materially different from one another, please?
Okay, our computer science degree has 1 course in software security. Currently, that meets the requirements for our ACM. A computer scientist is the study of computation. Many of them graduate and become software developers, but that's not the focus nor the goal of the program precisely. So while they can learn about computer security. What's different in this degree is we require courses in IT, which are not required in CS. There's not any hardware really required. So they take a cybersecurity fundamentals course in the cybersecurity degree. This course is the equivalent to the Security Plus certification that's offered. They then are going to take courses in information systems, again, not required in the computer science degree, and they'll be taking principles of information security. Finally, they will be taking the computer security degree that's in the computer science program. They also will be required to take computer forensics and the math course of cryptology, which is an elective in the computer science degree. The cybersecurity risk management, a brand new course, is not required. It's again more related to the intersection of information systems and business. And software security, that course will be available to our computer science majors. It's a brand new course. And finally, introduction to ethical hacking will be an elective in this major, which is also again. So the difference between a computer science and this degree is the addition of the extra business classes not required in the CS degree and a depth in cyber, sorry. All right, and a depth in cybersecurity research. So they're going to be getting business and IT not required, and then a depth in cybersecurity.
But will they be taking programming classes as well in addition?
They have to, yes.
Okay.
So they will be taking Python and Java. They also were required to take advanced data structures and a computer systems course.
Thank you.
What type of, okay, you've introduced some new courses.
Yeah.
What is the additional faculty needed or load, and where does the money come from?
So we don't need any. 3 years ago now, our Board of Regents invested in our department with 7 new lines with the specific intention to create these types of degrees. We're simply trying to fulfill our commitment, our honor that was placed on us with these new positions. We are asking for a student worker in the initial years to help us advertise, but that's it. So we are fully staffed. I know that's hard to believe, but the 7 positions increased us by 33%.
And is this all face-to-face component, or is there an online piece to it, or is this an in-person class? Well, you know.
Right. So some of it is going to be right now. It's advertised as face-to-face. All of our classes are offered at night and during the day, and many are offered online, but not all of them. Although after this semester, that will seriously be revisited. So the answer 4 months ago was, this is a face-to-face degree serving the region, serving the students in our region. Although the courses are at night or during the day, and some are taught hybrid and online.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the cybersecurity. There's at Eastern. There's a cybersecurity certificate for their, and you typically.
There's a degree. There's actually a degree.
Okay, is it a concentration within Homeland Security?
Both of ours are aligned with Homeland Security. Correct.
Okay, so there's a Homeland Security aspect to those classes as well. Okay.
Yeah. And the one at Eastern more focuses on their depth is in digital forensics, computer security, and cybercrime investigation. Very needed. Whereas our focus, we wanted it to be a little different. And so ours is on this business risk management, people maybe graduating, becoming a CISO, ethical hacking, and secure software development.
Wow.
And we both cover all those topics, but it's the depth is a little bit different, Grant.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would, if no one else has any questions, I'd move that we go ahead and approve.
Second.
Lori's on mute.
I'll second that.
been muted by the host, unmuted by the host. Thank you. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Melissa, I'll turn it back over to you to walk us through the UK one.
All right, we have several from the University of Kentucky. So on the agenda, first up is biomedical engineering. We have several representatives from, well, we have 3 representatives. I don't know who is talking, so I'm just going to mute myself and let one of you jump in, please.
David, you want to start?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Biomedical engineering is a multidisciplinary field that applies engineering principles to biology and medicine to solve human healthcare challenges. UK proposes a unique new 4-year Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering undergraduate program designed for students who seek careers in industry, healthcare professions, government agencies, or graduate study to develop novel treatments, devices, materials, or technologies that improve human health. The proposed curriculum consists of coursework and studio experiences over 8 semesters. This curriculum will provide students with a unique set of qualitative and quantitative healthcare problem definition, analysis, and solution skills. Biomedical engineering and product design courses created and taught by biomedical engineering and College of Design faculty are integral to semesters 4 to 8 of the proposed program and will instill design thinking in students. A novel 2-semester interdisciplinary capstone senior design project fulfills the curriculum because it requires application and expansion of prior classroom learning and studio experiences. The proposed program is unique because of the 1, integration of design thinking courses and studio experiences amongst a rigorous engineering curriculum. 2, student exposure to biomedical engineering faculty and product design faculty and students in the concurrently proposed product design bachelor's program. And 3, structure of the senior design project, whereby students address, in collaboration with product design faculty and students, a contemporary healthcare challenge posed by an industrial or healthcare partner. Balancing left brain technology education with right brain creativity development is one of the main goals of the proposed program. Benefits from the proposed program include providing graduates with a competitive advantage in the job marketplace by redefining the 21st century professional practice of biomedical engineering, providing opportunities for new business development in Kentucky via creation of medical product design firms, raising the prominence of the University of Kentucky as a leader in education innovation, enhancing the proportion of women engineers in society, and benefiting mankind through creative new solutions to healthcare challenges. Biomedical and bioengineering programs report large enrollments in the top 10 engineering schools. Recently published undergraduate enrollments at Georgia Tech are 1,300, Johns Hopkins 480, UC San Diego approximately 2,500, amongst others. Biomedical engineering faculty repeatedly received requests from students asking for a biomedical engineering program. Information sessions offered to gauge student interest in a proposed UK bachelor's program in biomedical engineering witnessed approximately 155 attendees in fall 2019. The Bureau of Labor Statistics state that employment of biomedical engineers is projected to grow 7% up to 2026. Increasing numbers of technologies and applications to medical equipment and devices, along with the medical needs of a growing aged population, will require the services of newly minted biomedical engineers. Most biomedical engineers work in manufacturing, universities, hospitals, and research facilities of companies Median 2017 pay for biomedical engineers was $88,000 per year. The number of job opportunities for biomedical engineers in 2016 was 21,300. Although no information is available for state or regional job opportunities for biomedical engineers, it's important to note that the proposed program offers the opportunity to create a biomedical product design think tanks in the Lexington area, and thereby greatly expand the number of biomedical engineering related jobs. Recent events attending the COVID-19 outbreak underscore the importance of healthcare technology and global economics, and the increasing need for creative, affordable solutions to contemporary healthcare challenges. We hope to provide students that address such challenges, beginning with the first class of approximately 35, gradually increasing to approximately 100 by 2030. Finally, the proposed program remedies a long-standing deficit in the portfolio of engineering educational offerings of the UK College of Engineering. The proposed program complements the healthcare delivery prowess of the University of Kentucky and provides the College of Medicine a needed resource enabling physicians to continue to deliver state-of-the-art healthcare to Kentuckians. The proposed program also provides an alternative educational opportunity in biomedical engineering education currently unable to be met by the conventional biomedical engineering program at the University of Louisville. Finally, the proposed program is complementary to the concurrently proposed Bachelor of Science program in product design.
Do you have any questions?
Is this program, where is this going to reside? Is it more in biological sciences? Is it in the Department of Engineering? You know, where exactly does this sit within the school at UK?
Administratively, the program will reside within the Department of Biomedical Engineering within the College of Engineering, but it's in close affiliation with the College of Design and their newly formed product design department.
Okay. I have a question. Actually, what you said 35 new students coming in. What are the admissions requirements for your department?
We're still working on refining them, but we anticipate a sizable demand. So the admissions requirements will be the completion of a standard first year engineering curriculum and a GPA of approximately 3.5 or greater.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on the biomedical engineering program?
I'll make the motion to go ahead and go forward with this.
Okay, we were gonna take all of University of Kentucky's at once, unless we have to pull one out and have discussion on it separately. So if there are no other questions, pardon me?
I said that seems like the better way to do this anyways.
Okay. All right. Then we'll move on to, looks like Melissa, the computer or engineering.
Yes, so we have 2 related programs in computer engineering, a master's degree and a PhD, and we have Dr. Finkel here online to do the presentation.
Hi, I'm Raphael Finkel in the computer science department. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. So firstly, for the master's program in computer engineering, what computer engineering is, it integrates, firstly, the side of computer science, which we call systems, which is software development, operating systems. And it integrates that with that side of electrical engineering, which treats computer architecture and the hardware-software interface. Our proposed master's program has 2 options, the thesis option and the non-thesis option, which is just as we have in both the electrical engineering department and the computer science department for our own programs. And so this proposed program complements our existing undergraduate program. We're proposing a master's program, and it will be a complement then to our existing undergraduate program in computer engineering, which has been around for at least 15 years. As far as student demand is concerned, we do expect a significant demand from our own undergraduate EE and computer science and computer engineering programs. We expect in particular that the University Scholars Program will bring in some students. That's the program that allows undergraduates then in their last undergraduate year to take graduate level courses and count them towards both undergraduate and graduate degrees. We also expect that graduates from other Kentucky institutions like Centre College and EKU will find this program attractive. We project a steady state of about 20 students in this program. As far as employer demand is concerned, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the demand for computer engineers is projected to increase at an annual rate of about 0.3% until 2024. This actually, when you look at it that way, it doesn't look so good, but if you look at the entire increase, it's about 10% from now until 2024. And the demand for computer research scientists, which is a related field, is also going to be increasing by a greater annual rate until, well, 2028 is their projection. So why this program is needed at this time? Well, it will enhance our College of Engineering ability to pursue its top 50 vision of being internationally recognized and ranked as one of the top 50 colleges of engineering, because many colleges of engineering have such a program, and we are lacking in that. This will complement our current undergraduate program. So that's what I have to say about the master's program, and I'm glad to answer questions.
Well, am I off mute? Yes. My typical question is regarding faculty. Do you have the sufficient faculty to cover this? And this will overlap with the PhD program. Same question for the PhD program. New courses, new faculty, and funding.
Right, that's a good question. We currently have adequate faculty to staff the courses for this program. We won't require new funding. Looking forward, this will be an opportunity, we hope, to get new faculty, but it does not at the moment require any faculty beyond what we currently have.
And what is the time period for typical degree attainment?
For a master's degree, it's almost always 2 years. Occasionally, it can be done in 3 semesters. That's rare. And it does happen that a student will take more than 2 years, 5 semesters, even 6. But again, that is rare. Typically, for our master's programs, it is a 4-semester program.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move to the next program.
Was he going to talk about the PhD?
I was going to say, I think that presentation was on the master's only. Do you have anything specific that you would like to include on the PhD program?
Yes, let me just say that a PhD program, unlike a master's program, is to prepare students for research. And so our course and credit requirements for the PhD program are very much like for other PhD programs at the university. We expect for student demand that there'll be demand both from our own undergraduates and from the graduates then of the master's program that we are proposing. And we're projecting a steady state of 10 students in this program. Employer demand, not only will the students be reasonable, the PhD holders will be able to take the sort of jobs I've already mentioned, but also there are on the order of 200 undergraduate programs in the field in the country and almost 100 graduate programs. These programs will be looking for faculty. And so we expect that our PhD holders will easily find positions in academia if they choose to. Other than that, no, I have nothing more to add.
Actually, it is a thesis-based program, I assume.
Yes, PhD programs require by university rules a thesis. It requires, we have a requirement of coursework, and then there's a credit requirement up to the qualifying exam, and then there's a requirement of a thesis.
Great, any other questions? If not, Melissa?
Okay. So we have two College of Education programs that are separated in the agenda, and I would suggest that we look at those consecutively because they have the same two campus reps who might want to jump off this call after they're finished. So we have a master's degree in orientation and mobility and a master's degree in visual impairments. Dr. Lee, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you combined them because I realized they were on the agenda. They probably make more sense to talk about the teacher preparation program and visual impairments first, which will make much more sense in terms of the orientation and mobility. I just, on the chat window, I just shared, I had prepared a very short PowerPoint. If you are a visual person, I know that's ironic, I'm representing visual impairments here, but if that helps you to just very briefly look at our things, you're welcome to click on that and view this. Anyway, the first program is our teacher preparation program in visual impairments. This program actually is a certification program currently at UK. It started in 2013. We are the only program in Kentucky that trains teachers of the visually impaired. Since we started in 2013, we have graduated 61 students, and I'm very proud of the fact that all but 6 of those are still currently teaching as a teacher of the visually impaired here in Kentucky. We've had a few go out of state or people opting to stay home for personal reasons, but our retention rate and having them out in the state is very high. There are currently 40 students presently enrolled, and just about all of those will have the opportunity to move over to this master's degree program with the current work that they have been doing. We are funded by the Kentucky Department of Education, and we have been since we started our program. Just to give you a brief overview of what this looks like, this program as well as our orientation and mobility program are both hybrid model programs. So they're a minimum of 2 years. We start our students in the fall and they go consecutively through our program, fall, spring. They do an intensive face-to-face summer and fall and spring again. We do meet synchronously online, so we meet in the evenings via Zoom, so very familiar with this platform. And then we meet 1 to 2 weekends a semester at the Kentucky School for the Blind. We actually have a dedicated classroom there where we meet. Our students also have access to the dorms, which saves them a lot of money when they come in, that they don't have to pay for lodging during that time. We have options for advanced, alternate, and initial certification, which is great. You can make a career change into this program, or you can be a current teacher and add on while you're doing this. But it is a total of 10 courses, 33 credit hours. There is a certification piece as well that goes with this master's degree program. So in some cases, there are some individuals, especially our initial candidates who don't have a background in education, may need to take some additional classes for their full certification. I just like to make you aware of that. But again, there's a very high demand. Both this and our orientation mobility program are considered critical shortage areas in Kentucky, as well as across the nation. As I stated before, 55 of my 61 students are still working. 33 of my 40 students currently enrolled are on what we would consider an emergency type certification, meaning they're working as the teacher of the visually impaired in their school district because the district cannot find anyone while they're doing this. So this really speaks to how critically short we are teachers in this area. And even more so, my last two previous cohorts, we plan on about 15 students in a cohort. My last two were over 20. So we've actually been running over capacity, and we've done that because it would mean that kids are going without a teacher if we did not accept them into our program because they were working for school districts. I also like to really point out, if you happen to look at the PowerPoint, we have actually provided teachers to over half of the school districts in Kentucky, and that is very broadly distributed across the state. So we have people all the way as far western Kentucky as Ballard County down to Martin, Boyd, Letcher, as far north as you can go, and down south. So we really are meeting the diverse needs of the state of Kentucky with our program. But why we're changing to a master's degree program, it actually better fits with the rigor of our program. And really the big piece is that as a certification program, our teachers were not able to access financial aid, which is obviously a big thing for somebody coming in who does not have other funding sources. So more long-term, this will give our students a lot more options to access our program. But ultimately, this will very much complement our orientation and mobility program, which I'm about to tell you about. So I'm happy to answer any questions specific about the teacher preparation program and visual impairments, and then I'll briefly tell you about orientation and mobility.
Are there any questions about the visually impaired program? Looks like not, so why don't you move forward, please?
All right. So orientation and mobility is how individuals with visual impairments know their position in space and how to move within their environment. This includes concepts, skills, and techniques used to travel through the environment. The focus of orientation and mobility is to promote maximum level of independence for individuals who are visually impaired. And this program and orientation and mobility services as a whole focus, we call a cradle to grave service. Basically, this starts from birth from young children who are blind with visual impairments, all the way to still serving our most elderly consumers who are out there. And we're seeing a big increase in visual impairment, especially as our baby boomers are reaching their elder age and dealing with vision loss as well. Just so you know, there have been numerous orientation and mobility positions across Kentucky. This includes in the educational system as well as the rehabilitation sector that continually go unfilled. They cannot find anyone to fill these positions. We would be the only program in Kentucky that offers this program. And this, like our teacher preparation program in visual impairments, is funded through the Kentucky Department of Education. It is set up very similarly to our teaching program, where it is a hybrid model. It is, we say, a 2 to 3 year program. It really depends on their internship and how they structure that. So it could be that they could spend a 3rd year doing a part-time internship in orientation and mobility. But they also utilize our classroom over at the Kentucky School for the Blind. They meet several weekends a semester and also have an intensive summer programming where we do a lot of our blindfold work. So this is where our students actually learn to use the cane and go under the blindfold and learn all of the skills necessary for independent travel. There are 3 courses that are shared with our teaching program. So depending on the background of the individual, in many cases, our teachers who are interested in this program, they're already teachers visually impaired, so they would not need to take the introduction class and anatomy and physiology of the eye and Braille. They would have those. So there are 3 prerequisites. It is a 10-course program with 30 credit hours, and again, funded through the Kentucky Department of Education. And just to emphasize the demand, it is also a critical shortage area in Kentucky as well as across the US. We did a needs survey about a year ago of our vision professionals in the state, and 97% of them indicated there was a great need for a university program. Currently, there have been 1,100 postings, and these kind of got grouped together, but low vision therapists, orientation and mobility specialists, and vision rehabilitation therapists. And then the projected growth, employment growth at the state level was 45%, and at the national level was 26%. So there's very clearly a need to have this program here in Kentucky and help better meet the needs of individuals who do have visual impairments. It does very much complement our teaching program, and we really hope we can start filling some of these vacancies we have across the state. So any questions about orientation and mobility?
Yeah, okay, you said there's many openings. Give me a couple examples of typical employers.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So on the sector for children, the Kentucky School for the Blind has really struggled to find teachers, and most school districts have to employ an orientation and mobility specialist as well if they have students who are visually impaired. We have about 1,600 kids across Kentucky who are considered blind or visually impaired. And we know that many of, well, not just kids, but adults as well, these individuals are either not being served or they're being underserved for what they need. Many school districts, unfortunately, have had to do private contracting, which is actually very high rate of paying someone, and they have to pay them to travel hours to come over into their district in cases of some of our rural school districts. So the education side is one. From the adult sector, the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation has had an opening for almost, I think, about 2 years now that they still have not been able to fill in Louisville. And then Veterans Administrations also hire orientation and mobility specialists.
To me, this is really just a subset of the previous program for the teacher preparation in visual impairments.
It kind of is, which is why I wanted to present the teaching program first, because I think it has a little bit better understanding of what it is. But they are two separate degrees, and in terms of services, especially when we talk about the Individuals with Disability Education Act, IDEA, they are two very separate services on an individualized education plan as well. Even though in many cases, such as myself and Dr. Kaiser, who's on here, we have both certifications. But if we were providing services for a child, they would be listed separately and have to be accounted for thus so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions before we move? If not, Melissa, the next program.
Okay, so I believe next up is a Master of Science in Supply Chain Engineering. We have 2 representatives from UK. I'm not sure which one wants to take the lead on the presentation, so I'll just mute myself.
Thank you. I am Fazlina Badruddin, professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at UK, and I will provide an overview of the program. The Supply Chain Engineering program is a 2-year, 30-credit-hour online master's that will teach students the multidisciplinary knowledge and skills necessary to design, evaluate, and improve transformational and logistical functions in supply chains. This will be a non-thesis degree with 5 engineering core courses, 1 elective course, and 3 common core courses shared with the new Masters in Supply Chain Management proposed by the Gatton College of Business and Economics at UK. The program will end with a capstone industry project also common to the supply chain management program. There is a significant demand for skilled employees in supply chain related careers. Kentucky is a national logistics hub due to its central geographic location with more than 60,000 full-time jobs in the logistics and distribution operations. Several reports have highlighted the national skills gap and demand for trained professionals in supply chain related careers. One report, in fact, estimates that the demand for professionals in this area will exceed supply by a ratio of 6:1. An assessment of job postings in and around Kentucky showed that there were more than 6,000 job postings in supply chain related careers in the last 12 months, with a projected increase of 7% over the next 8 years. And we also had several interviews with senior supply chain executives in regional companies who revealed that they did not have a source to get trained supply chain professionals, and they resorted often to recruit MBA graduates and train them internally for supply chain careers. In addition, a large percentage of engineering graduates also take up supply chain careers. According to a survey by McKinsey, at least 33% of supply chain executives have an engineering background, indicating the need for continuing education in this area. And the supply chain engineering program will provide this opportunity for engineering graduates. Also important to note is that the only other existing supply chain engineering MS program in the country is a full-time face-to-face program at the Georgia Tech University. Therefore, the proposed online MS in supply chain engineering will be uniquely positioning itself to produce graduates who can contribute to the workforce in an area of national need. In addition, the online delivery will also increase accessibility to interested students across the Commonwealth and the nation. This program has been developed and the common courses will be taught collaboratively with faculty from the Gatton College of Business and Economics. There are no other similar programs that are collaboratively developed and delivered that are available in the country as of now. And this is another opportunity to uniquely position a state university in this capability for supply chain. The degree will complement the online manufacturing systems engineering master's program that we have, and students in the manufacturing program will have the opportunity to take some of the courses offered in the supply chain engineering program as elective courses. That is a summary of our program, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think it's probably the most obvious question that you're probably expecting is, what is the difference between the supply chain engineering program versus the supply chain management program?
Mm-hmm.
And, what is the need to have an engineering-based program when there's already a supply chain management? What's the differentiator? And considering there's only one other university in the whole country that offers it, is this something that we feel is critical and important from the standpoint of offering an additional degree program in this area?
Thank you. That's a good question. So let me first explain the difference between the two programs. Supply chain engineering program is designed to provide the analytical and technical capabilities necessary to support the decision making in supply chains, whereas the supply chain management is more focused on the managerial aspects. So the engineering program has more technical requirements, and also admission to the supply chain engineering program requires an undergraduate degree in engineering in order to be able to go through the curriculum. In terms of market demand, I'm getting some background noise here. In terms of market demand, we have talked to executives from regional companies, supply chain vice presidents and directors who have indicated the need to have both graduates with the supply chain management background and also who have more technical capabilities to develop the tools that can be used for decision making in the supply chain domain. So therefore, there is a very well understood need in the supply chain domain to have professionals with more technical and analytical capabilities. In terms of the single program that is available at Georgia Tech, that is a face-to-face program on campus and only catering to students who are there, who are able to be there. Whereas this program, which is proposed as an online program, we feel can have access nationally and therefore will be able to attract a large number of students, though we are initially planning to only target enrollment of 10 students.
I'd like to follow up with Vidya's question. How much the competition between the engineering and the management degrees, will you be taking students from the management or diluting that program, or the other way around?
The admission to the supply chain engineering program will require an undergraduate degree in engineering. So therefore, we will, this program will only admit students who has the background. There might be some students who are currently taking supply chain management degrees with an engineering undergraduate background. I suppose they will end up choosing between the programs depending on the career path that they decide to pursue as they move into industry.
Okay, any other questions?
Laura, this is Ben. I've got a question. As a one who spent a few years down at Georgia Institute of Technology, and with their, I guess back then there was a lot of participation in the industrial engineering program, and the supply chain components had been a part of the industrial engineering program. I guess, can you provide a little bit of context on how a master's in this program would compare with something in industrial engineering? Is it just simply more focused effort in that arena?
Yes, I'll be glad to. So this industrial engineering program has, the curriculum in an industrial engineering program would be, as you mentioned, very broad and more generic. They would be covering some of the tools that could be applied to supply chain or any other sector in the industry, be it manufacturing, healthcare, or services. Whereas the scope and the topics covered in the courses in the supply chain engineering program will be very focused on supply chain. For example, we have supply chain strategy, logistics management, design and management of supply chains, sustainable supply chains, and so on. So everything is focused on the supply chain, whereas the industrial engineering programs are broader and more generic, and the tools could be applied to any sector of the industry.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Any more questions?
So I realized that I looked over the product design one, but it seems more logical for us to go to the supply chain management, since this is a complementary program. So I'm going to turn that over to Dr. San.
Hi, I'm Dr. Haoying San. I'm assistant professor in the Department of Marketing and Supply Chain in Gatton College of Business and Economics. So just give you an overview. Okay, the Master of Science in Supply Chain Management program will be a one-year program with a 30 credit hour requirement. It has 9 core courses plus 1 elective course. Among the 9 core courses, 4 of those are shared with Fazlina's program, which is the Master of Science in Supply Chain Engineering. So among those 4, one of those is called industry project. Basically, students do a project with the industry sponsors. So our program will equip students with the multidisciplinary knowledge and skills required for career related to operations and supply chain management. We do expect to build a cohort of 35 to 40 students. And Kentucky is one of the logistic hubs in the nation, okay, because of central location. Now, there are 15 new logistic and distribution locations or expansions has been announced through September 2017, representing a total investment of $1.9 billion and almost 4,000 new full-time jobs. Besides, the state also has a sizable manufacturing sector. So for example, since 2014, the auto-related industry announced about $6.8 billion in new facility investments and expansion projects. And on the other side, according to the Burning Glass National Database, the job growth rate in the next 5 years related to operations and supply chain management positions in Kentucky is 13.04%. It's much higher than the 7.4% general growth rate in the nation for all jobs requiring a master's degree. So meanwhile, the salary in this field is also quite attractive, ranging from about 62,000 for beginner analysts to close to 100,000 for more experienced supply chain managers. However, within the state, none of the universities offer a Master of Science in Supply Chain Management program. Across the nation, many business schools do offer this program. Thus, the main objective of the proposed program is to provide trained supply chain professionals for the Commonwealth to meet the rising demand in this growing sector. Another objective is to provide students with skill sets that can make them competitive in today's labor market. Because our program share, these 4 courses with the College of Engineering, it will provide a multidisciplinary environment for business and engineering students to learn and work together collaboratively under the joint expertise of business and engineering faculty. Students also have opportunities to apply knowledge and skills gained from the program to solve real-world problems provided by our industry sponsors. So that's pretty much what I have. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Any questions?
So I guess if not, we can circle back to the bachelor's degree in product design that I overlooked earlier. I believe there are 2 representatives on the line, and I will let one of those jump in.
Good morning. This is Mitzi Vernon. I am the Dean of the College of Design at UK, and I'm so happy to meet you all virtually, and I certainly hope that you are all well and safe. I send that message out almost every day to my college these days, so I know that you share those feelings for your own groups. So I have prepared a short bit here that I'm going to read you, and I promise I have timed it, that it fits between the 2 and 3 minute maximum. So I hope I touch your points, but delighted to take your questions afterwards. And I also want to just mention, I didn't talk during the BME degree discussion, but I have been an active partner with Biomedical in the development of their program, and they to ours for the last 2.5 years. So we have been a true collaboration in developing these 2 programs. So with that, let me just read through this bit of text, and then I'll talk to you on the other side. Product design, also known as industrial design, and important to kind of know those 2 terms, has become a more expansive discipline during the past 2 decades. I suggest that this is due largely to the emergence of the smartphone, and then smart screens in general, and now the digital era. So we now see people in this field who are systems thinkers, service thinkers, and also still product and artifact makers. As a faculty member in the early 2000s, I recall a project that a well-known product design firm called IDEO took on with a hospital in Minneapolis. The hospital had a problem like so many others: throughput, sequencing, and safety within the emergency room experience. IDEO took this problem on, and it resulted in system solutions and product solutions together. I like to think of this project as a turnkey for this profession, and how relevant is that right now? I took this job as Dean of the College of Design because I saw a significant opportunity for the Commonwealth of Kentucky through the university. There is no other program like this in Kentucky, and the healthcare enterprise at UK is perfectly positioned for a collaborative partner in product design. As a Stanford University alum in product design and engineering, I am now on several listservs that are trying to brainstorm quick ventilators and PPE in general. That is what product design can do. If we had this program now on campus, we could help the hospitals. I took this job in part because I knew I could build relationships with engineering, medicine, public health, health science, all of them. Not every university in the United States is this well positioned. And I also felt that this could really help a state like Kentucky with rural health issues. The College of Design has a long-standing reputation for outreach and community service. I knew we could build on that legacy. And it is an economic booster. Just after we published our product design roundtable gathering in 2017, to discuss what a 21st century product design program should look like. I received numerous calls, not just from interested parents and prospective students, but from companies located outside of Kentucky. In Ohio, for example, where there are 2 programs in product design, led by UK alumni who would welcome the opportunity to have a business in Kentucky had they a graduate population to hire from. We hired a research firm to help us gather marketing data to verify the opportunity for this program. From marketing statistics, we know there is significant and growing demand for product design graduates that align with Kentucky's labor force. The manufacturing industry accounts for 18.3% of Kentucky's annual economic output. Since product designers are employed wherever products are mass produced, the College of Design's program will deliver graduates into a lucrative Kentucky employment market. For example, Kentucky's motor vehicle manufacturing industry employs nearly 95,000 people and is the 3rd largest light vehicle producer in the United States. Yet there is no local resource of industrial or product design talent from which to pull. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Not at the minute, thank you.
If not, I do believe that is all of the programs on the agenda for today.
Great, thank you, Melissa. So at this time, we can either take them all, or if somebody would like to pull one out, they need to make a motion to pull one out. So if not, I am seeking a motion.
Actually, I'll make a motion to approve, but I would like to add some comments. Am I off mute? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. There's, to me, a lot of overlap in some of these programs. And as I said, I won't oppose them, but the overlap is becoming, we're adding much more in the way of degrees, what have you. But to me, a lot of these degrees are subsets of a major or primary degree, and to parsing them out into individual degrees seems almost overkill in my mind. That's all.
I would agree with you, Dr. Stat, and I appreciate the observations from your perspective. I'm not sure any of us know what the answer to that is, but it may play into the more specialization that our world is facing at this point in time, and as the evolution of careers have taken place over the last 20 or 30 years. Yeah, if anybody else has any input on that, I would appreciate it. But I appreciate you bring that up, Bob.
I agree with Dr. Stat and Ben, both of you. It seems like, though, the university does have plans going forward for these programs, which is good, but it's something definitely to keep in mind for the future, because it does seem like a reoccurring issue as well, not just with this.
So I would point out that since they all have separate zip codes, that means that they are distinctive in some manner, and zip codes are a national designation. So they might be complementary or supplementary, but the universities have decided that, or looked at the curriculum, and the curriculum fits in separate categories, and that will help us collect data and help with program post-graduation outcomes and looking at those as well. So as you know, if you combine too many things into one, you're going to lose some things in the aggregation.
Okay, Dr. Stat, did you have a motion?
Yes, I moved to approve, but I made my comment that I think there's significant overlap, but we'll go ahead with, since they are separate zip codes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Thank you all. Motion carried. Now we will turn it over to David, who is going to talk about engineering in Kentucky and some analysis and labor market information and program demand.
So good morning. I want to introduce my colleague from the MC organization, Anna Brown. She's going to tell you a little bit about the MC organization that we partnered with for the study and a little bit about her personal background. We began this study in the fall, and we're giving you guys a sneak peek on some of the big takeaways, and you'll see the full rollout in April. But for now, we want to make sure that we effectively communicate some of the important things in terms of the engineering sector, the growth projections in that area, and the supply of Kentucky graduates. So Anna, if you're on the line, could you just give a little background on the MC organization that we partnered with and why that was important for the research in this area?
Sure thing. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So MC, we have been a company. We were established in around 2001, and we are a labor market data software and consulting firm. We were originally established to conduct economic impact studies, and through that process, we determined that we were also good at gathering labor market information. So we have been building upon that framework over the last almost 20 years. And we work with higher education institutions as well as businesses, economic development organizations, workforce investment boards, and more. And our primary goal is to use labor market data and software to connect and inform people, education, and in business. Our data covers around 99% of the workforce, and this includes a combination of traditional labor market data from government sources such as the Bureau of Economic Analysis and the Census. But we also couple that with real-time demand from job postings data, which also helps us get more granular in the types of demand that employers are requesting. And then we also provide a look via online profiles and resumes into the type of jobs and opportunities that alumni are in. So with those different lenses, we have a fairly robust picture of the labor market across a state, across a region. We can get quite granular with that.
And I want to thank Anna because this is specific time for her. And so this is first thing in the morning and not even a chance to get coffee, before she jumps into a presentation. So
I've had 2 cups already, so I'm ready.
Yeah. So the research question is pretty simple, and it really aligns well with our discussions of new program proposals this morning. So are there misalignments between workforce demand and the supply of Kentucky graduates in this engineering area? So as you're looking down these 5 topics that we're going to cover today, you may recall a study about 10 years ago with our sister agency, then KSUS, KY Stats now, it's Kentucky Center for Workforce Education Statistics, where the conclusions were a bit troubling 10 years ago, that we talked a lot about losing our Kentucky trained engineers to out-of-state employment offers because of wages and career opportunities, and we were really projecting a problem in terms of gaps in skill sets and needs in the workforce in Kentucky because we were losing so many engineers. The good news that we'll share with you today is that we've recovered a bit from that, and our engineering retention is quite high compared to other states, and our wages are pretty healthy and competitive with our surrounding states as well. And so we'll go into those details. So just a bit about design. You guys are familiar with these 4 workforce planning regions, WPRs. One change that we did make is we teased out Louisville from the central region so that we could look at Kentucky metropolitan areas separately in terms of Lexington, and Louisville. We also asked Anna and her team to break this out by region so it would be more actionable. So in the bigger report that you're going to see, you can read up on any particular region and the projected number of new jobs and what type of gaps there would be in terms of graduates to fill those jobs, by SIP and by occupation code. So it's very, very fine-tuned, and there's about 200 pages of data in the report. So I'm going to let Anna take you through this slide. This is one of my favorite slides because it really gives you a sense for who's hiring our Kentucky engineers.
So what we've done with this slide is before we really got into looking at the demand for programs, we wanted to have an understanding of the industries that are driving the demand. And so this is, we tried to be as visual as we could with looking across the state, what type of engineering is driving each region. And so what we saw is that engineering services in general was a very high employer of engineers. And engineering services, this includes different types of engineers such as mechanical and civil, and those who are specifically being contracted to work for providing advice, for doing feasibility studies and so forth. But we also see that engineers are quite, that they are in other types of industries as well, so beyond just engineering services. And so while engineering services is a top industry employing engineers across the state, we see that in, for example, the South, that the automotive, there's a bit of a niche in automobile parts manufacturing. We see in the West that the federal government, especially with the military bases, that they employ quite a bit of engineers. We also see a lot of state government across the East and in the central WPR. And so across the board, depending on where you are in the state, there's different types of needs for different types of engineers. And so what we tried to do within this analysis was pull out those nuances across the board.
So a bit of background on projections of job growth. This slide is overall projections, US versus Kentucky, which subsumes the engineering sector within. But you note that our projections are not quite as favorable as the overall growth. But this compared, so if you compare 23% to, from 2009 to 2029 to 15%, the engineering market looks a lot more favorable for Kentucky. And so we're right in line with national growth projections. If you're wondering about total market for engineers, you can see in that smaller print down there, if you have a chance to read it, that in 2019, it was just over 27,000 jobs. And we are looking at over 29,000 jobs in engineering in Kentucky by that 2029 rate, 2029 year. And so that's what gets us to the overall 28% growth from 2009 to 2029. So, pretty much a good news slide. I'd like to show this comparison of Kentucky graduates in engineering fields to the average annual number of job openings by occupation. I think we should spend the most time on this slide just so you get a good sense for where we are projecting these growths. And I'll have Anna jump in here, but you note that, manufacturing, as we just discussed with the UK folks, manufacturing is still driving many job opportunities. So you see there at the very top, the manufacturing engineering technology technician, there's a big gap there. Certainly engineering technology, the next row. And then, of course, the industrial engineering is still a big growth area for us as well. It should be noted that civil engineering continues to be very healthy, and there's going to be many opportunities. And this plays back into the needs in the state and the federal government that you noted in the previous slide by geography. So the big takeaways here are certainly that manufacturing is going to continue to drive a lot of job opportunities in the state of Kentucky. The other question I had for Anna initially, and I think is important for you guys to note, is, so just because an occupation shows a big gap doesn't necessarily mean that a new program should be proposed from an institution to fill that gap immediately. It could be that, for example, mechanical engineers and expansion in existing programs can fill some of the need in areas such as manufacturing technology or other manufacturing opportunities. Anna, is there anything that you want to add on this slide?
I think you covered it really well, David. If anything, I think I want to touch just briefly on the methodology of how we came up with these, and just very high level. What we did was we looked across by zip code all of the programs offered by the universities, and also and that way we're able to take into consideration all of the completions that each university is providing, and then we map that to the types of occupations that graduates would likely be going into. And so when we look at this, we're trying to take a fairly comprehensive look across all of the, not just all the demand, but also all of the supply, since there are some programs that are offered at multiple institutions. So that way we just have that overarching look there.
Yeah, and I should note, and I'm not sure I did, that this is baccalaureate or higher graduates. And so we certainly spent a good time in the report on associate level and sub-associate credentials so that we could help inform the KCTCS folks in the state. But I wanted to start with this, this notion, as we had initially described, of baccalaureate completers in engineering being poached a bit by other states and what that's going to look like. So I just want to make that clear. And as we look at this job demand, these job growths yearly, some of those projections are based on a graying out of particular areas of our engineering workforce. And so this is industrial engineers by age. And you can see how we skew larger with that group that's over 45 and even up above 65. So, that within that 2029 timeframe, we are going to see more retirements. And if you look in the notes at the bottom, you can see that's true with electrical engineers and architectural and engineering managers and others. And so some are more leveled out. You can see the mechanical is probably our best proportionally distributed across the age ranges, but certainly there's going to be need based on the aging or the graying out of Kentucky workforce engineers. So this slide is the one that I referenced at the beginning of our presentation, that are we retaining Kentucky engineers, and how does that compare to other states? And so the good news here is that 54% of Kentucky graduates stay in the state to work in some capacity. That compares to 43% nationally stay in their home state. So we are quite healthy here. And we asked Anna to break this out by bordering states. And so I can just tell you that, we're quite competitive. Indiana is only at 38%. Illinois is at 45%. Virginia is at 41%. Missouri at 52%. West Virginia at 27%. And we're about the same as Tennessee and Ohio at that 54%. So this is a really important takeaway for us to understand if we're keeping these engineers, in the state after really a pretty pricey investment in their training for our institutions. And what plays into it is these median salaries, and we took 6 states that we felt like were important comparison benchmarks, and we looked at 2019 salaries, and then on the next slide we'll look at 2009 salaries. But if you focus just on one area, let's just look at, say, engineering with mechanical, you can see that our median salary in 2019 was about $85,000. That ranks us number 2 amongst these 6 states. And these are some pretty healthy economies in areas like Texas and Florida. And so, we feel like we're certainly very healthy, and that's relative to, these 2009 salaries, where if you look at mechanical, and you see that we were 5th amongst these states. and then you look at the other rankings, 6, 5, 5, 4, 5. We've made a lot of progress in our salaries over the 10-year period. And I feel like that's a really important takeaway as we address that idea of whether we're able to compete to keep our engineers in the state after they graduate. So I'll finish up with the summary, and then I'd like to open it up for questions so Anna can answer any research design questions, what else is in the report kind of question that might be very instructive for this group as we think about new academic programs, and that you guys have these conversations on a very regular basis. So I got 2 slides here. One is just the overall contextual picture. And again, we, as a state, job growth looks like it is significantly than the national picture, but we are more competitive in our engineering sector. Our wages have improved over the 10 years, and we are retaining more engineers, and that's certainly the good news slide. But there is, certainly gaps and opportunities to expand existing programs or approve new ones. And then we should note that the population growth continues to be a challenge for Kentucky in terms of our economy. So you'll see in the bigger report that we project out a 6% increase in population growth in Kentucky relative to 11% nationally. And you guys well know the attainment challenges that we have had as we rolled out our 60 by 30 goal to by the year 2030 to get 60% of our Kentucky residents and working age population to have some post-secondary credential. We've progressed there, but we continue to remain behind the national average. And then finally, with those opportunities in manufacturing, you're going to see a good deal of language around unemployment being high in Kentucky for manufacturing, but that's that classic divide of highly skilled labor and automation versus the lower skilled folks, and unemployment being much higher for the latter of those two. So I broke this into 2 takeaways. For the baccalaureate, the gap in this manufacturing area, manufacturing technology is significant. There will also be continued opportunities for growth in civil engineering. Again, those skills are often transferable across disciplines within these zip codes. And so, it might be that mechanical engineers have many different opportunities in manufacturing, not necessarily just limited to, the classic mechanical engineering occupations. And then we certainly do not want to talk about KCTCS in a limited way, because there's so much in the report there to discuss, but it's a little more nuanced and detailed, and we'll be working directly with their workforce folks and leadership within the various colleges within KCTCS. But one bigger takeaway is that this need for quality control folks in manufacturing area continues to be quite high. The challenge is that much of that training is going on site at the employer facility, and not necessarily from third-party training providers. And so KCTCS certainly has opportunities there to continue to work with these folks, but we do see a big gap in this quality control technician area that's still quite a big need for our private sector partners. So with that, let me just open it up for questions. We covered quite a bit in a short period. And again, I hope this is a bit of a teaser so that you guys will spend more time with the report as it's rolled out. But we should have a little bit of time now for questions.
Okay, David, Bob Stat here. And I appreciate your comments about just the fundamental engineering degrees. Do you have any feel for how much educational effort is put in by the companies after they hire someone? In other words, the universities aren't going to prepare students for all the different jobs. How much on-the-job training occurs, or do you have any information on that?
Well, I think that was a bit outside the scope of the study, Dr. Stats, but I do think that's an excellent question because I feel like at the master's level, and there are quite a few gaps where employers do want master's level trained engineers, that much of it can be funded through the employers. And so I feel like those programs are in place for the most part. Anna, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, and I guess I will go back to David's. So we did not really look at how much training the employers are providing.
I know that, but it's
here.
still.
So, yeah. But one thing that we did do is we did tailor the demand by the type of education required. And so, so when we're looking at the Bachelor's Plus, for example, we are looking at the demand for people with a bachelor's degree and higher. So, so we're kind of baking that in a little bit to the results. But what we can do is we can take a look, I think, especially through the job postings data, and see if there's anything further we can provide around if there's for some of this demand, if the employers are providing training afterwards. So I'll see what I can tease out on that front.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional questions?
Okay, thank you. If not, I appreciate your time today, David and Anna.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the committee today? All right, our today's committee recommendations will come before the council for an official vote on April 24th. And our next ASI committee meeting is scheduled for May 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right.
Appreciate everybody's time today. Do a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any closing remarks, Aaron?
Other than I appreciate all the work you put into this. Obviously, I think, Lori, your committee is going to be faced with some interesting challenges this next year. I would just ask the committee to really think about innovation in some of the questions that they're looking at asking as we move throughout this year. I think what we're bringing to your committee may look a little bit different as far as some of the strategic conversations I think we need to have. So I just appreciate you all, and be careful. Stay safe.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Adios.